What's good, people? This is Tonedeff, the Tigawini DEFF, no spaces. You know what it is. Repping Q&5 Music, Extended Family, The Plague, and you are watching The B Shine. I'm constantly thinking of melodies of music. I'd probably say I produce more than I write these days. You know, when I was a teenager, I would write a lot more. I have books and books and books and books of rhymes. You know what I mean? But then you get to a point as a writer where you don't want to be redundant, you know? If you really want to be good, or if you really want to say something worth saying, then you start to become super, like, hyper aware of, you know, any sort of redundancies in your work. And all writers eventually hit that point. I kind of hit the point, you know, maybe 10 years ago. Like, I just didn't want to keep saying the same shit over and over. And it's really easy to do that with in hip hop, is to kind of, you know, fall on a bunch of crutches. So I tend to only write when I have music to write to, or if I have an idea for a song. I got to, like, structure it and come up with a concept for it before I'll sit down and write anything. So all day, every day, I'm walking around with melodies in my head, with, like, you know, different B lines and you know what I mean? Just drum parts and extra layers of stuff that I want to add. So probably more music than words these days. But every once in a blue moon, I'll just get a line in my head and I'll be like, and I'll jot that down. I feel now at this point in my career that I can do whatever the fuck I want, and however the fuck I want to do it. Whereas, you know, when I put out Archetype, you know, I've told this story before, but when I put out Archetype, my first album, I was trying to, like, walk the line of what I actually wanted to do and what I thought people would want. You know what I'm saying? And so I kind of sacrificed the integrity of the record, you know, for the sake of trying to impress, you know, backpackers, or to impress tastemakers and aficionados within the genre, because you want, beyond all things, to be cool, you know, when you're at certain points in your career, and you want to make music everybody's gonna like, you know. But even then, you know, we always had a hard time getting our stuff placed or played by DJs, because, you know, for whatever reasons, maybe it was too melodic, or there was, you know, maybe I sang too much, or maybe the quality of my voice wasn't gruff enough or something. But it was always something, you know, preventing people from, like, playing it, you know. But then you get to a point where you realize that the work that you're doing isn't, you know, it's not what you want to do. It's, you're sitting there trying to impress people. So I got to a point where I wanted to just kind of go full tilt and do exactly what was in my head. Consequences be damned, you know. And I noticed that the more I went in that direction, the more people started connecting with my music. And when I started writing about my life and writing true stuff, people started getting tattoos. Like, to this day, I'd have never seen anybody with a fucking punchline tattoo on their back. You know, it's always like a quotable from a real life song or a moment, you know. So, you know, at this point, I am a proponent of no genre. To me, genre is dead. And I think that in the future, I'm not going to be the only one saying that. I think that any musicians that are, you know, really about being progressive, or just trying to make good music, they're not going to make genre music. I mean, it becomes a parody of itself after a while. And I get bored really easily. So I actually write out my track list before I do anything. So I have to come up with the entire skeleton on on paper before I even lift a fucking finger to do anything. Because I, you know, I'm very in love with the album format. You know, I love the fact that an album is the highest form of artistic achievement in the music medium. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can do a great album, you are a great artist. If you can do, let's put it this way, anybody can fuck up and make a hot single. You can't fuck up and accidentally make a great album. Like, that is an intent. It's an artistic statement. And I feel like it's gotten much easier to get away from that, because, you know, people don't really buy records, or they don't listen to albums like they used to. So everything's on shuffle. So that's kind of gotten lost, but I'm still there. And to me, I want to prove these things to myself. And for the people that are listening, I want them to kind of take in a whole thing. So in order to do that, I have to game plan the whole shit. like from A to Z, and then figure out all the intricacies in between. You know what I'm saying? This record sounds exactly like it sounded in my head, like exactly. I spent so much time on this record, and there's some scary moments, there's some dark moments on it, there's some trippy moments, and there's some like extremely sad moments, and everything on this record is exactly the way that I planned, that I heard it first in my head. And I'm super proud of that, because that's not an easy task, to execute something and realize basically a dream in your head and make it real, So my favorite parts are definitely production, like laying down the skeleton of the song, because I'll have something running in my head for a long time, and then finally being able to just like hear it back is really, really gratifying. Writing is torturous for me. It's a super slow process because I got peppered with my OCD. I overcomplicate my rhyme patterns and make it, super, super dense with the rhyme schemes. Some people appreciate that. Other people, it just goes right over their head. But for me, I hear it and I need, I don't just do 2 syllables. I do 12-syllable patterns, and I need the whole shit to rhyme, and I need it to make sense, and I need it to be dope, and I need it, you know what I mean? So I just make it more complicated for myself, but my OCD forces me to do it, right? So writing is torture. Hearing it back, like once it's done and hearing the song back after it's mixed, I hate mixing too, but hearing it back, that's dope. And obviously the most gratifying thing is putting it out in the world and seeing people's reaction to it, so. I'd probably say my favorite song on the album is Phantom. It's in the middle of the record. That's a song that it just sort of it evolved on its own. It kind of took on its own life, and it's like a watershed moment for me where I kind of made something that's beyond myself, and that doesn't happen very often. There's only a few times that's happened for me. It was like when I made the song Porcelain on Archetype. That was a moment where I made that and I was like, fuck, I made that, or when I made, Optimist, I was like, fuck, I made this. I know when I hit that moment, because I'll get goosebumps and I'll like tear up because I'm like, fuck this, I made this is crazy. It's beyond myself. I don't know how it happened. I couldn't do it again. Phantom is one of those songs, it just happened. And, I think part of it is it hits wall of sound. It's a production technique where you just have so much noise that it turns into this gigantic cinematic widescreen gigantic cacophony. Bands like M83 and My Bloody Valentine and Secret Roast, they kind of do this in their songs. And I never heard it in a rap record before, so I bought it into hip hop, into this rap space, and it works. It works really fucking well, and I'm super happy about that. I write as catharsis. Everything I do is cathartic. My music, especially, more so than any collaborative work I do. When I write my stuff, it's because I'm trying to get this fucking boulder off of my chest. You know what I mean? So in this album in particular, I wanted to write where I was, who I was, and who I wanted to be. I had to kind of pick myself apart. So I ended up, dealing with things in my childhood that I hadn't dealt with yet, and being able to forgive, family members, that I was wronged by, or, kind of acknowledging my divorce and going through all the things that I went through, trying to deal with it basically. Because, you go through life and you never really put things in perspective. And for me, it's difficult, but it's easier still for me to write out what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling than it is for me to actually explain it to somebody in the moment, I feel so many things in my chest and I can't articulate it. The only way I can articulate is writing it down in a rap. And it's fucking weird. It really is weird. I don't know if it's because I've been doing it so long, and when I started so young, I didn't have the emotional tools to deal, so I wrote. But yeah, it helps me immensely. Once I write the song and I get it out there, being able to hear it back, and get that emotion out of myself, it is extremely beneficial. You know what I'm saying? I definitely want people to feel something, that's that's a slippery slope. But I think it's easy to make stuff that's like hammy, like this is my sad song, and then people go wah, But to make something real and to connect emotionally is it's really difficult, on a lot of levels. But when people connect to something, you can't call it. You don't know why. All you know is that, as a writer, at least, you did something real and honest, and other people have that same experience. So they connect to that. I got a lot of people right after I released this record, like, yo, more like you, that's my story too. Like I went through that too, and it fucked me up, but it's really great to hear somebody else went through this. I can commiserate, So seeing the kids getting the tattoos of the lyrics and to see people, come up to me and be like, my grandmother just died. I listened to Optimist on repeat for fucking 3 weeks, and you really saved my life because, I was really I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. That makes it worth it. You know what I mean? But it's not intentional. Like, I'm going to make this to save people. It's sort of like, I'm going to live my truth, write it, let the chips fall where they may, and then people are going to connect to it however they're going to connect to it. So Polymer is my second album. It is a no-genre album. It jumps all over the place. So if you're looking for da-doom, chat, da-doom, fuck a bitch, you're not going to get that. You're going to get, super layered, super cinematic, emotional music that ranges all over the place. If you're into all types of music, I highly suggest it. You can check it out. Go listen to it, stream it, or download it at tonedeff.com. If you're a Spotify person, it's there too. I don't get paid for that shit, but you can listen to it, and that's fine if you can live with yourself. But yeah, it's everywhere digital. Go check it out. Q&5 Music, you know what it is. Check out my new artists, Lucy Camp and Fier, on the new label Quintic. Peace.